Hello and welcome, everyone. Lovely to see you here. This is the Terrific Trio, and we are here to talk about the magic of solopreneurship. This is our second conversation in that series. We are thrilled to be here, and we want to welcome you to the North Star Cafe. This is a digital space that's dedicated to having action-oriented conversations on leadership development, particularly at the intersection of people, business, and technology. And I'm so thrilled to have my two lovely friends and fellow solopreneurs, Tiffany Castaño, founder and CEO of Zephyr LLC, and Kim Menninger, leadership coach and consultant and founder of Kim Menninger Services. And so this is so lovely to have you both. Thank you so much for taking time on a weekend to hang out with me.
Thank you. It's always so much fun to be here.
Yeah, I love this trio. Thanks for the invitation. And we have this fun, like, confetti party background. It's like a Saturday party.
Yes, I chose that on purpose. And this is absolutely lovely. And I'm your host, everyone, Meenakshi Iyer, and I'm the founder and principal of North Star Solutions and Services LLC. And we're going to talk a little bit more about what each of us does and how we came together. And in the meantime, we want to welcome all of you who are watching us live. We are currently live on actually all three of our channels, and we are live between us. We are live on LinkedIn, YouTube, and Facebook, and on all of our respective channels. And that's just amazing, the magic of technology. And this is, like I said, episode 2 of the Terrific Trio Conversations on the magic of solopreneurship. The first episode that we did was in December of 2022, and I've already provided link to that, the replay of that conversation. And before we dive into today's conversation, just wanted to share a little bit about the background. The three of us met via LinkedIn. I met Tiffany at an online event, I think, Tiffany, and then we connected over LinkedIn, right? And
yes,
Yeah, it's 3 years now. Yeah, because it was in August of 2020 that we met.
Yes, both of you 3 years. So the fun part of this trio is I actually met both of you through attending a presentation that you were giving. You were each giving separate webinars, and you were both so amazing. And I was nervous to reach out because I was like, I'm just this little person on LinkedIn and on this thing trying to figure this out. I wonder if they would accept my connection request if I reached out. I want to learn more about them. And so I did, and I'm so glad. I so value our friendship.
Absolutely. And Tiffany is how I met you, Kim.
That's right. Yeah. So talk about the magic of technology too, right? Like you said, because it was your bravery, Tiffany, that brought us all together. And I hope that's inspiration for anybody who's hesitating to reach out to somebody.
Absolutely. And Tiffany and I have met in person once, but the three of us, I don't think we've met together in person at all.
No.
Yes. Not yet. We're claiming it.
That's right. And we started doing these catch-ups, I want to say about 2 years ago, and we did a few. You know what, Tiffany? I think it was last year or the year before we met. We did the first one on your birthday, actually.
That's right.
I suddenly remembered that. Yes. We did it once, and we said, we need to do this regularly. And we kind of tried to make it a quarterly thing. And then we took the next step of saying, hey, why don't we bring this to the world? Because I'm pretty sure there's a lot of other solopreneurs trying to figure things out. And so here we are. We started in the holiday season, at least in the US last year. And this is our first conversation in this year. And boy, a lot has happened, or what?
Where has the year gone already?
I know. It took us 8 months to try to find time to do this, right? So
everything in its good time, right?
Absolutely. And I think, when I think about it, and I've shared this on LinkedIn in this past week, that entrepreneurship in general is scary. It's a leap of faith. There's a whole bunch of emotions and experiences rolled into one in that. But I think that I am a solopreneur, and we all are here. And I think, call it bias or whatever, I think that being a solopreneur really takes the whole courage thing to another level. I think we are a team of one, and we wear many hats, and we learn so much along the way. And I think having the two of you be partners on this has made my journey so much more fun and so much easier. And I know that I have the two of you to lean into when needed. So that's been my experience, and that's why I'm here. And I would invite the two of you to share sort of your experience with being part of the Terrific Trio and doing this, and your reason for being here.
Do you want to go first, Tiffany, or you want me to go?
You can go.
Okay. Well, I want to echo what you said, Meenakshi, because I think the power of having friends and peers and colleagues, right? That is the thing I missed most about my corporate career, which is now 13 years ago. But it's so nice because this is such an isolating journey if you aren't intentional about building that connection. And so it is so nice to just feel like you're part of my extended team, right? And to be able to share our celebrations with each other, to be able to talk through questions that we might not be able to get answers elsewhere. It's just so, like you said, taking courage to the next level. It just makes it a little less scary to be on this journey when you have friends and colleagues along the way.
Oh,
Absolutely.
goodness. I love this. I thank you so much for kicking us off, Kim, and Meenakshi for the invitation of the question. And I echo all of that. Obviously, I just, I'm glad that I took that brave step that day, because each of you have really just poured into me as a person, as a woman, as an entrepreneur now. And we all learn so much from each other. And I think the beauty of that is the power of perspectives, which I know we all value, and just feeling like Kim said, like you're not alone, because when you are primarily a solopreneur, you forget that, oh, wait, I have partners. I have, other folks who I can call who have been there before. And, you don't have to be stuck. And so those are the things that we're supporting our clients with. And sometimes when you're behind the scenes, you forget that. So having these intentional moments, like our catch-ups quarterly, and we touch base outside of that, which is amazing too. Like we are in this for each other, and that's so meaningful, is important. And then doing things like this so that we can give back is just, that's the creme de la creme for me. On that note, it's time for another sip of coffee.
Thank you both for sharing that, and thank you for joining us live, Gehan. Welcome, and
Yes,
you're right
you so
about that,
much.
Tiffany, and the word solopreneurship and magic.
So
That
sweet.
is-
She's the best. She is the best.
Thank you. And once again, we want to welcome everyone that's joining us live, and also that will watch the replay later. And as you're joining us, let us know where you're joining us from, what brings you here today, and what is it that you would like to hear from us in the specifically around solopreneurship and our experience. And as we do have a few things that we wanted to share with you today. And what we typically do when we do meet offline as well is we share our wins, we celebrate our wins together, we talk about things that didn't go as planned, and we share tips on all kinds of things, ranging from tech stack to, hey, how much do I charge for speaking fees? And I remember that was one of the first conversations we had, and that prompted us to say, hey, we should take this to the world. So that's what we typically do. We have sort of a structure, if you will, to our conversation, but then it flows as well. And we're seeing some chats coming in. Hi, Marissa. Welcome.
See you tomorrow. She'll be in town. I'm excited.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Yeah.
Lovely to see you here, Marissa. Thank you. All right. So as we kick off our conversation today, I would like to start with you, Kim. Can you talk to us about what your solopreneurship journey has been since we last spoke in December of last year?
Yeah, and I'm really glad you asked this question because it gave me an opportunity to reflect on that. I've been moving so quickly that I haven't really stopped and thought about it in that way. And I will confess that I still, even after all these years, always have this fear that like, everything's going to dry up and there's going to be nothing left. And so this year, I have had some really big wins that have been very exciting. In particular, heading into September, I am going to be leading 2 fantastic women's leadership programs that I feel like are the culmination of all of the work that I've been doing. Like these are the ideal opportunities for me. And so it feels like such a big win because it feels like all of the seeds that I've been planting along the way. And not that I haven't loved all of the other work that I've done too, but when you get that one opportunity that feels like the right one and you think, okay, I'm doing it right. That's how 2023 has felt for me, is that I'm moving in the right direction.
Tell us more. I know you have had a few public-facing wins as well. So tell us.
Yeah. So I feel like, I had very little ability to filter over the, previous years, especially when I was first starting out. And I think this is important for solopreneurs to think about is if you're coming from a place of, I just need to get my opportunities wherever they come from, you can be brought into activities that aren't necessarily in greatest alignment with what you want to be doing, with your natural strengths. And so over the years, I've found myself spread in a lot of different directions. And I was, over the last 2 years, trying to be a lot more intentional about what I say yes to. And really thinking about, is this the greatest use of my strengths? Is this the greatest use of my time? And I feel like that is paying off this year as I get these opportunities that are in direct alignment. So it's hard. It's really hard to say no to something. It's hard to, especially there's the scarcity mindset that I think that can kick in within all of us of like, oh no, this is an immediate opportunity. What if this is the only opportunity I get? But also just knowing that if you say yes to it, you're going to have to do it. And it's not going to be it's energizing. Right. So I feel like that's really been the theme of my wins this year, is that it's been very focused. It's been right in the heart of where I want to be. And that feels really good.
Yeah. That's fantastic. And I did go ahead, Tiffany.
No, I was just preparing myself. Please go ahead.
Okay. First of all, we have a lot of folks joining us. Thank you, Karen. Hi, Raj. Welcome, and thank you for joining us live. I was going to say, Kim, as you were sharing, one thing I did want to provide context to everyone that's here and will watch the recording is that we all are in different phases of our solopreneurship journey. You started 10 years ago, more than 10 years ago now, right?
12. Yeah, 12 years.
Wow. That's fantastic. And I know I've been doing this for 4 years, but this year feels like I'm starting again in a lot of ways, and we'll talk through some of that. And Tiffany, you started right in the middle of the pandemic, yeah?
I did, May 2020. Yep.
So it's been some years.
Yeah.
And so could we also share a little bit of a summary of what we do? Kim, do you want to start us off?
That is a great idea. And I apologize. My landscapers were supposed to be here yesterday, but they are right outside my door right now. So I hope that you're not.
That's okay.
I can't hear them.
No, I can't hear them either. Yeah, the joys of working from home.
The joys of working from home, yes. So I am, as my title suggests, a leadership coach and consultant, but the way I describe my work is really focused on what makes it hard to be human at work and helping people to overcome that. So I think about the fact that there are so many different resources out there to help us grow our skills and our competencies in different areas, which are just as important. But for me, I tend to look at the world through the lens of what do I do when I know what I'm technically supposed to do, but I feel like an imposter, or I get anxious in certain situations, or I don't feel connected enough to my team to take risks, like sharing my ideas. So I try to reveal that messy human side of the workplace that's harder to talk about, and to make sure that we're sharing actionable strategies that can help people feel more confident and more effective. And I think that when we personally feel confident, we're much more likely to reach out to others. We're much more likely to collaborate, and it creates a greater sense of psychological safety, inclusion, belonging more generally.
Mm. That's fantastic. Thank you. And I was hoping by now you would have mentioned your TED Talk, since you haven't.
That's why we lift each other up, right? Shine the light.
Yeah, that was definitely one of my biggest celebrations of my journey, was the opportunity to do that talk and bringing your diverse voice to the workplace. And it was really focused on imposter syndrome, and how the unfortunate reality of imposter syndrome is that we tend to compare ourselves to others and think we don't measure up. And in the process, we lose what makes us unique. And then everybody loses the value of our voice and our perspective. And so that was just the culmination of a lot of work. I had prepared for this for a long time, and it just was the most terrifying and exhilarating moment of my career.
And here's the link. I just shared the link here.
Oh, thank you.
For Kim's TED Talk. It came out this year, right? In March of this year?
It was March of last year.
March of last year. Okay. Cool. Wow. It's been already a year. Oh, that's right. Yes. And we have more people joining us. Hi, Sajid. Hi, Neelam. All right. And Kim also is the host of a podcast called The Imposter Syndrome Files. And Tiffany and I both have had the pleasure of being guests on the show, and we've absolutely enjoyed it. And Kim also hosts a weekly Leading Humans group. And if you want to share that link, I don't have that handy yet.
Kim. Sure. I will do that in a moment. And that is really an extension of the what makes it hard to be human focus, right? Is the chance to have a safe conversation with other people about the challenges that we face, that we might not be able to find support in other spaces.
Absolutely.
And she has Unmasking Leadership, which I hope to make it at some point. So she has that group as well that she leads weekly. It's weekly, right?
Yeah. Thank you so much to both of you for reminding me and keeping me honest.
We're not going to let you dull your shine.
Yes, absolutely. That's the whole reason why we do this. And this is just absolutely fantastic. And something just struck me today. This time we actually used the feature in StreamYard. That's the software we're using to live stream this, where it allows, so I'm the host on the tech side. It allows me to have my guests stream it live to their channels as well. And we actually tried that this time, and it worked. And I'm noticing how much wider the reach is because of that. And we have so many people joining us. And that's just a testament to what collaboration can do. And it makes me feel so happy. So I wanted to just share that.
I'm so glad that experiment worked. We're like, wait, we figured it out.
If you all could have only seen the behind the scenes, it was the bloopers reel.
We make it look so polished, but
that's what that counts. So that's the whole thing about Solopreneurship, right? We are a team of one. And we are our own content creators, our own marketers, our own salespeople, our own website builder, and our own delivery person. So we do it all, and accounting. Oh my God!
Yes. Production in the studio here, trying to figure it all out.
Yes.
IT, we're IT.
Yes, we're our own tech support too. So,
that's the power of technology, though, and being able to do this. And I've leveraged that too. And it's been just amazing to really reach your audience, to share a message. And it's the beauty of this trio too. One thing, going back to what you asked before, is that it's never about us. It's about our extended community and sharing value and trying to lift the next person up and share things so that we don't all have to, other people don't have to figure out what we already know and just give. Yes, Jeet, he always has such beautiful things to say.
Yes.
Oh, so perfect.
We finally met in person. I remember saying this
That's right.
in December when we last met. But Sajid and I finally met. And like I had predicted, we met in India.
Yes. So amazing.
Though he lives in Canada and I live in the US.
That's so wonderful.
Oh my goodness. All right. So over to you, Tiffany. What's been your journey since we last spoke?
Yeah. So I'll start with just like a little bit about myself and Sapphire. So I am on this interesting journey right now. So I'm by trade an HR practitioner, HR consultant. I've been in HR for 15 years. It is my craft. I own my craft. I love it. And I've been on this transition and this journey to not just be known as HR, and Jihan will know this because we have lots of conversations around this. She's in the space as well. But to really be focused on culture and elevating the employee voice, that's what's important to me. And diversity, equity, inclusion, belonging, or as I shorten often to DEIB. And that, those are values that Sapphire has. So I anchor everything that I do, whether we're looking at a first-time handbook rollout, we're working through change management, rolling out new programs, training, systems, tools, whatever that looks like, it's all through the lens of elevating the psychological safety, as Kim mentioned earlier, for the employee, and really giving the organization its bones and infrastructure, making it stronger. And certainly there's the risk hat of keeping everybody out of trouble, but all of that boils down to culture. And I think we hear that and it's a fluffy word for people. And it's so dynamic. And the thing is, you're going to have a culture whether you want it or not. So you may as well be a part of shaping that. And that for me, when I look forward, I'm so excited to start planning at the end of the year. And I've already started planning this, is what the future of Sapphire is. Sapphire 4.0 and 5.0, as I've been lovingly calling it, is really becoming even more boutique into the culture space. My clients, my existing clients know that that's how we do things. They all care about their culture. And so that's been a fun evolution. And that really has been more of an evolution since we last talked in December. I just last week, my assistant, Desi Bolin, started. So super excited for that. She's been rocking and rolling, and we're doing so many things on the ops side, and she has an HR skill set as well. We just met yesterday. She's helping me with tools. I'm getting my tech stack in order. Everything is just rocking and rolling. And this is, I think when you are a solopreneur and you finally lean into the space of, ooh, help, there's support here. I said, I'm going to need you to remind me to lean in. And so we use a tool called ClickUp for project management. She's helping me transition off of Trello. And she would see it helps with visibility to see what's going on and due dates and statuses. And it's free, y'all. It's free. So there you go. Free tech tools. And so when we met yesterday, she was like, oh, I noticed you assigned certain things to yourself. I just took the liberty to go back in and reassign with me. And I'm like, keep doing that. Hold me accountable. And that's the beauty of the three of us, is we can hold each other accountable and shine the light on each other like we did in practice. And it's so important. But for me, it's about walking in my purpose. And as my client said on Wednesday when I was describing this, they said, walking on purpose or working on purpose. And I was like, wow, that is so profound, because we can work ourselves to death. We're going to die at some point and leave this earth, but we might as well have fun while we're doing it. And that's been the journey for me, is how do I continue infusing fun? And part of that is the two of you and laughing in the green room behind the scenes and catching up with other people and these wonderful folks who have joined us here today and will on replay. And that's the beauty of it for me. It's tough, but I continuously ground in my why and what I want to vision for the future.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Tiffany. And it's just lovely to hear all the alignment as well that the three of us share.
Well, you've had some big wins, Tiffany.
Yeah, I was just getting to that.
Yeah, it's been interesting. I've also, this year I've been moving around a lot more. So, and I thought that kind of cut off at July, but now I found out that I'm going to be doing that some more this year, which is a gift. I really hadn't traveled beyond the Pittsburgh general area or, kind of metro region. And now I'm getting to do that. I've gotten to travel to Wisconsin, and I got to go out to California. I got to go out to Philly. I gave a women's empowerment talk there, which was so scary. It was TEDx style. Thank goodness it wasn't the actual TEDx stage, because I don't know how I could have done it, because my voice started shaking and I was like, whew. But it was such a great experience. And talk about feeling the energy and the buzz of a room full of women who are all there to elevate each other. That was super fun. And from that experience, I haven't really talked about this, but from that experience, I decided that I'm going to start a podcast that is not HR or culture facing particularly, but I'm really excited to talk about my journey to finding confidence. And that emerged from having that talk in Philly, and the confidence that I had. And I'm like what we're doing here, I'm like, I need to share these things. And I intend for it to just be short little snippets. I don't have any clue how to start a podcast. I know I have help in this room right here, right? So I'll be tapping into my lovely trio, and I'm terrified of that too, but I'm excited, and it energizes me. And people were like, you need to start a podcast. And I'm like, I'm not ready. I don't want that. And that's the thing about this too, that I want to impart onto this audience is you need to do it because you want to do it, not because society or someone else expects you to. And that's been a huge lesson that I've learned. And this is what emerged for me naturally when I was ready, when the time was right. So I'm super excited about that. It's just I've been embracing, more tools and tech. And so we're about to really get it streamlined over here. And that's really exciting too. So thank
Tiffany,
you.
Consider that Philly speech the dry run for your TED Talk. Right now,
Yes.
you can do it.
Yes.
Next stop.
Oh gosh, thank you. I love how we build each other up. I appreciate that, Kim.
That was a fantastic talk. I hope you're able to share the video publicly, Tiffany.
I'm planning on it. I'm going to have some professional editing done to it. It's actually, I put that in my project management yesterday tool. So I know that Desi will keep me honest too. So I will do that, make it a little more fun, and share it. It was very vulnerable. So I think I've been wrestling with some of that too that I haven't really shared publicly. So thank you for that.
Yeah. And I can't remember whether it was this year or last year, but then your Changemaker, the Jefferson Award.
Yes, that was happening right when we talked last. December 18th, I think, of 2022 was when I accepted that. And that has brought such opportunity to meet new people, to just sit deeper in community, to elevate my own servant leadership. And so that is a national award that a lot of celebrities have. And so I was like, I don't know how I got here, right? We talk about imposter syndrome, and it's like, okay, now I have gotten myself into this. No way to go turn back. So once we say yes, then it's like, ooh, we're really doing this, aren't we? And something so magical unlocks in your confidence and what you realize you can do. And it's almost like, if I can do this, and every time you do that thing and you do another thing, it really just calls you into your own and allows you to step out on faith into your journey. And I'm feeling emotional because it's just these are things that I never really aspired to. And then I'm like, wow, I can do this. Wow, I did that. This prospect wants this. And I'm like, can I do that? Should I do that? And it's like, why would I say no when I could say yes? And so that's been a beautiful journey. So then I was asked to join the Multiplying Good board. And I was like, I'm already on 2 boards. Should I do that? But I did. And I'll see them on Monday. We're all getting together for some fellowship and our board meeting. And I've made some really good friends out of this. And they're some of my favorite people. So you just don't know what saying yes will call into your life. And it's so much more than the revenue, right? Or, I learned about this tool. And that's amazing. But to really, bring in the other things that really bring you joy. That's been such a gift through this entrepreneurship journey.
And Tiffany, I just want to comment on that because, going back to the courage conversation, never say no because of fear, right? You can say no for lots of reasons. There are lots of times it makes sense to say no, right? Like we talked about before, if this isn't the right fit for me, it's not the right time, whatever it might be. But if it's something you want, like say yes and figure it out, because that's exactly how you build your confidence and your courage, is through every scary step you take, right? And you are just a living portrait of that through the story that you just told. And so it's so inspiring to hear you.
Thank you. Yeah, because there's one of the things for multiplying good and accepting my Jefferson Award is there are ripple effects. So most of my business is referral. And if I didn't say yes to certain opportunities, those ripple effects and the things that the momentum would not be there. You don't know whatever doors are going to open from saying yes to something. And it's really like, I feel like you're really saying yes to yourself, yes to confidence. Like I'm stepping out of fear and I can do this.
Yeah, that's a great way to say
it. So wonderful to hear that. And so many amazing comments here from Karen and John.
Yes, hi John. Thanks for being here.
And thank you, Karen, for noticing that. This is what works for us. And this is exactly what we do when we meet offline. So thank you. Thank you so much. And Sajit here has an idea. We'll have to pick your brain on this a little bit, Sajit.
I love that idea.
Yeah.
And that we will. There are beautiful things happen in Sajid's brain. And
yes.
Sajid, I just want to shout Sajid out for a moment for the way that you encourage us always, for sharing your ideas and encouragement every time you show up on one of these lives or any space on Twitter. So I'm on Twitter and I get the benefit of seeing what Sajid shares. And it's always about other people and these beautiful ideas that he has, and the way that you support women. I just have to shout that out. It's just a gift, my friend. So we're so grateful for you.
Yes. Everything that Tiffany said.
Meenakshi, how about you?
Yes. Before that, I want to say hello to Willow. She's joining us from Indonesia. She is creative as well, and one of her niche is really helping folks like us repurpose our content online. So we met again via LinkedIn, and we've had some amazing conversations. Thank you for joining us, Willow. So for me, this whole journey of solopreneurship has been, I've talked about it a lot in the past few weeks. It's been filled with self-doubt. So every single day it's like, oh my God, what am I doing? And why am I doing this again? And then one look at what's happening in the corporate world, and I'm like, oh, I know why I'm doing this. So for those of you that are meeting me for the first time, I come from the world of tech. So I have a 25-year career, interdisciplinary career at the intersection of people, business, and technology. And the last, I want to say, about 15 years have been in the healthcare technology implementation space. And what that means is I have worked with health insurance companies in the US, helping them implement a platform technology, something similar, a platform like LinkedIn, for example, where you can do so many things. So this is like a platform a tech platform for health insurance companies to do everything that they need to do for their business. And so I've been in that space, process improvement, project management, and tech developments. I'm a trained software engineer, really, which I've never used that skill in professionally. And I'm also a trained English as a second language teacher, and I have used that skill a lot. And what I do right now is really a culmination of all the different things that I've done in my career in India and in the US. So I moved here to the US 15 years ago as an accompanying spouse. And so what I do now is really focus on mid-level leaders, primarily in the technology space, techno-functional space, and help them with their leadership development journeys, both in people leadership and change leadership, with particular focus on women in tech and folks like myself who speak English as an additional language. And so that's what I do. And I do both individual and group coaching work. And so I've been I started North Star in 2019, August of 2019. So this is really my birthday month. So I am celebrating that, 4th birthday. And in a lot of ways, this year, 2023, has been coming back to North Star as a full-time solopreneur in a lot of ways, because for the last couple of years, in order to stay funded, because I'm totally self-funded, bootstrapped, I took on project work that was from my past life, the healthcare tech world. And so while I continue to use my coaching skills there as well. So this year I've been 100% into North Star, and that feels different. And that feels there's a lot more confidence. And I do want to echo a lot of what both of you shared. I think I discovered this year, actually, a coaching conversation when I was partnering with a coach, that my biggest obstacle in a way was my own belief, or the lack of it. That I not only have the expertise to say and do the work that I do, but that there are people willing to receive that work. And I did not believe that enough. So it's a combination of a lot of different things. I think one of the things that I've struggled with, and even today I struggle with some, is that my career has been very sort of stunted in a lot of ways, fragmented in a lot of different ways. And I've moved around a lot, the immigrant experience, having to restart from scratch and things like that. So I'm not one of these people that has had this, I worked for 5 years and 6 years in the same company and have grown within the company in different roles. So my growth has been in all directions. And I think it's taken me a lot of time to acknowledge the richness of that to myself, and believe that what I have to offer is of value to others. So that's been my journey, really. And I think 2023, this was also the second question that we had. We kind of have touched on that, is the big wins. I think for me, the big wins were, one of the ones was my first in-person speaking opportunity at a conference in India. And that was so much fun. And you both know how nervous I was about it. So it was an agile conference, and it was a great experience. And I chose to share my solopreneurship journey there, and how being an agile practitioner has helped me in shaping my solopreneurship journey. So I talked about that. And for the first time ever, North Star was a sponsor of any event, any public event. So that was really a lot of fun, a lot of learning there. And I absolutely enjoyed my time in India. This was the longest I've been in India in the last 15 years. So I was there for 6 weeks. And I met a lot of people folks like you, that I've done so much collaborative work in the last 3 years and hadn't met in person. So nurturing those relationships. And that's how I met Sajid as well. We happened to be in town at the same time. And so it's been a journey of a lot of firsts. So this was my first time speaking in India, reconnecting with the tech community back in my hometown in India. And the other thing, I think the win for me, I consider this a win, is finally making that decision and that investment in partnering with a marketing coach and mentor. And that's done me a world of good. I still am doing the homework. It was a 7-week course, but oh my God. So a huge shout out to Jennifer Schaller. She's my marketing coach and mentor. And it's really helped me reframe my perspective in what I want to do. And also the confidence in making that pitch to executive and senior leaders, saying, I'm here to help you unpack leadership at the messy middle, and which is your mid-level leaders. So it's really helped me with that. So I would say those are my sort of big wins.
And I want to comment on your story too, Meenakshi, because you said something like, when you talk about having a fragmented career and, not having risen within one space, like, I think it's important to own that. That kind of goes back to what Tiffany was talking about too, of like, what do you want versus what society wants? And I think so often we have this very, sorry, my landscaper, this very narrow view of what our career is supposed to look like. And if it doesn't look like that, then we feel like we somehow haven't achieved as much as we should have. And it's because of your journey that you have so much value to offer, not in spite of your journey, right? And I think that's so important. Like you help me so much just in terms of like reminding me, and I try really hard, but I'm not always good at it, reminding me that like the world is bigger than the US, right? And that like you're always right there to step in and say like the global perspective. And I so appreciate that so much. And like you just have so much to offer based on your own personal journey. And I think that's so important to remember. And for anybody who's telling themselves the story that like, oh, I've never been a CEO, so who am I to start my own business or to try to offer my value to others, right? No, it's because of that you
absolutely. And that has been really hard inner work. I think that's the hardest work that I've had to do as a solopreneur. And what I enjoy about being a solopreneur, and the reason why, despite all the challenges and hardship in a lot of ways, I want to stay on this path because I think it allows me and provides me this opportunity to bring my varied experiences, lived experience at work and outside of work, in service of the global professional community. And I'm seeing that. So it gives me, that's what really inspires me to stay the course.
I love that. I always describe my work path as a crooked path, because in hearing this, and especially as women, because we know that men will typically apply for things that they may not feel like they're like, I got this, right? We will have to feel like I have to have every little dot, in there and every T crossed and all this before we may apply. And one thing Mina actually didn't mention about herself yet is she is an I Am Remarkable facilitator. And that's exactly what that talks about, is elevating your experience and being able to self-promote. And it doesn't mean you're bragging. And it also is about like letting go of those expectations, because we don't have to live under those. I too, I chose my CEO title because not enough people who look like me, be that, women, Black women, people who have historically been marginalized and oppressed. That's how I chose this title, so that people can see that representation at that level versus the title I was trying to give myself. But I had imposter syndrome. So I'm glad this came up so that other people we can share this message with, because I too felt like, oh, well, I only rose to a certain level. Well, that's because there's systemic racism and these structures are not designed for certain people to help you elevate. That doesn't take away from what I had to offer. And so that is a gift that we would like to offer you all, is that your path can be winding, but it doesn't mean that your destination has to stop where somebody else tells you to, or be defined by that.
Absolutely. So well put, such wisdom there. Absolutely. And that reminded me, there's two things that reminded me. One is, so this year, for me, this year is really working on the business, because it's also like I'm redefining a lot of things at North Star. And by the way, I just also realized that all three of us redid our website.
Oh yeah,
we did. Yes. That's right. That's how I started 2023, is I had it done professionally. I had budget set aside.
Yes. And Kim's, yours is looking fantastic. So does Tiffany. Yes. So I've been watching you too. So I go to your sites, I stalk you, and then I'm like, oh, I can do that.
I stalk yours too. We learn from each other.
Yes,
but it's all different, right? It's the beauty of different things. And you've both had brand and marketing coaches, and I'm like, tell me more, because I think I may do that as I look at Suffer 4.0 and 5.0. And that's the beauty of sharing what we learn, right?
Absolutely. And very practical things also that we shared among each other is, information around what does it take to set up an LLC. That's the other thing. So I actually officially made my business an LLC. And in the US, it is LLC is for limited liability corporation. And I know different countries have different ways of incorporation. So until May of 2023, I was set up as a sole proprietorship, which meant that I was legally set up to operate a business, but there was no compartmentalization between me as a person and me as the business. And setting it up as an LLC helped me get that. And there's a lot of other sort of tactical advantages of setting up an LLC. Your assets are protected and so on and so forth. There's tax benefits. And also, a lot of companies, I noticed that if they want to do bring you in as a preferred vendor, they would much rather deal with an LLC, a legal business entity, as opposed to a sole proprietor. So that was a barrier for me. But again, when I set up as a sole proprietor, when I wanted to start something on my own, what I call in agile parlance, minimum viable product from a product management standpoint, was to go get this license that allowed me to operate as a sole proprietor. So that's what I did. But upgrading to an LLC and the whole paperwork behind that. And I know we three had a conversation, and that I know I had been texting the two of you as well about it. So the three of us live in different states in the US, and we found out that the rules are different, the fees are different. And so we did it, I gained so much from both of your experience, because both of you have your businesses set up as LLC, to have a lot of these questions answered. And so for anyone, by the way, that's here who's based in the US and looking to do this, there's an amazing online resource that I found called LLC University. It is set up by a gentleman who got frustrated with all these different state level laws, and he actually put all this stuff together for the rest of us. So I learned a lot from that. So, setting up the LLC means you do the paperwork, you get your business insurance. Tiffany, you helped me with setting up my virtual mailbox. So now I actually have a street address, which is not my home address, that I can publish. So, there's so many things, and we don't think about these things, but that's what the Terrific Trio community has given me the confidence and to go ahead with these things. It took me about 2 months to get everything straight, all the paperwork, because I also did a lot of research and stuff like that. So yeah. So I wanted to mention the website that all three of us did that. And the other thing that I wanted to talk about was the other win for me is year 3 of doing my mentorship program for mid-career women in tech, which is Building My Runway. And I know both of you have been part of that, and it originated from the conference, the Future Work Conference that Tiffany and I co-host. And that's how I met you, Kim, the first year of doing that. Right. Yeah. So the cohort is 7 people strong this time, and they're all women from different parts of the world. And the focus is on mid-career women who speak English as an additional language. And so that's work that really energizes me, and supporting women in tech particularly. And that's something Kim, Tiffany, and we share as our value in terms of supporting women in the workplace, women in tech. And then for me, the additional focus on the language aspect as well. So that I just wanted to plug those few things in, and I'm doing a quick time check. Oh my God, time's really flown.
I know.
We are 10 minutes to the hour. And I know there's a lot of comments here as well. I wanted to look at that too. So John says, we must learn to believe that we are here for a purpose. We're blessed to be a blessing to and for others. And what we have to learn to recognize what has been invested in us, so we can recognize the necessity of investing in others. I touched the future now. Yep.
John always has such wise things to
Yes.
say.
Yes.
I love that.
Yeah. Thank you.
A really neat person.
Yep. Thank you so much for that, John. And thank you for sharing. Sajid, LinkedIn profile. Yes. Thank you.
It's looking good. It's looking good, Meenakshi. I always tell you, like, wow, like I'll text her and be like, you are on fire. And those little bits, help.
Yes,
they really
absolutely.
help encourage us, and they come at the right moments.
Yes. Karen, this Thank you, Karen. Thank you.
Karen.
She's such a great cheerleader too.
Yep.
Thanks, Karen.
So I was wondering if we could quickly share something that didn't go as planned. What we did after that.
Yeah. I can jump in if you want, Tiffany.
Yes,
sure. Go ahead.
So I had a situation that was new for me where I was feeling really disrespected by a client, and I didn't know what to do. And my fight or flight response kicked in, and there was a part of me that just wanted to scream and shout, and another part of me that just wanted to ghost them, and just, like all these bad thoughts, because I was having this very emotional response. And one of the things that I leaned into was what I tell other people to do in those situations. And I remember it was very challenging for me, but I just very honestly stayed connected to, who do I want to be in this situation? How do I want to show up? How do I want others to perceive me? And what will I be proud of having done when this is behind me? I knew I wouldn't be proud of running away. I knew I wouldn't be proud of fighting. And so I took the time to just communicate my thoughts in what I hoped was a very diplomatic and professional way. And it ended up working, and it really turned things around and ended up saving the opportunity. And so it was one of the most stressful experiences I've had this year. My husband can attest to the fact that I was losing sleep. I was just constantly worried about it, and it was disrupting other parts of my life. And I feel like just that piece about, who do I want to be? How would I advise someone else to show up in this situation? Who do I want to remember myself as in this situation? Really, really helped me to get through it. And I'm so grateful that it ended the way that it did.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. What's something that you learned, you would say?
I think I learned a couple things. Number one is ask more questions up front before you say yes to something. I think it's easy to make some assumptions about what other people's expectations are, or what the opportunity is going to look like. So that was a big one for me. And also just respect yourself. We always say throughout history, we've always said the customer is always right. And when we think about things as the customer is always right, it puts us in a position where we undervalue ourselves, and we allow ourselves to be treated in ways that we don't deserve. And so I think that for me was a really important reminder that, no, there are times when we have to advocate for ourselves.
Thank you for sharing that. Yeah. Tiffany?
It's so interesting how parallel our paths are, because that, for me, I've had a few challenges with clients. Thankfully, that's not in the majority of the time, but had to have a really hard conversation around, a client valuing my expertise that they hired me for. And we have a great relationship, have been working together for a while. But there was a moment where it got a little dicey, and I was like, I don't feel like you're feeling like I'm showing up in this space. And I felt like they were kind of picking apart the work product, and that shouldn't have been the focus. And I had this moment where I had to say, okay, do I have this conversation? Well, yes, because I feel very strongly about it. And to Kim's point, we can't just let some of that go just because that's our client and they pay us. We are humans first. And I believe in that strongly. And I had this moment also where it was this was a man, and I'm a woman, I'm a woman of color. And so I was like, do I go so far as to tell them, not only how this experience impacted me and how I experienced that situation, but do I go so far as to say, and this is how it landed as a Black woman? And I really wrestled with that. And I was like, that is a promise I have made myself, that we have the conversation. And I know that so many don't have that voice, and they don't have the agency to say that. And so I made sure that I said, and this is the impact that it had on me, these are the corporate traumas it brought up for me. I had a very emotional reaction in front of my client at the time because it happened on a day where I hadn't really eaten. I'm in perimenopause. I hadn't really slept well. I came there from like another client site, and now I felt like, now you're picking apart my work. And we were able to recover because of the relationship that we have. But that was really a test for me of how far do we go in like advocating for ourselves and modeling the behavior that we want to see and what's acceptable in this relationship and how we treat each other and move forward. So that was probably my most challenging this year.
Oh, I love that you did it. I love it.
I'm so proud of myself.
As you should be.
Yes.
Yes. What did you learn?
I always say, and this goes to probably a question we're going to talk about later, but I would say trust yourself. I really had to lean into the values that I have and the values of Sefer and who I aspire to be and how I want people to treat me, and what those boundaries are, and to build these healthy relationships and cultures. And I felt like I would not have been doing any of that justice if I didn't say something. And I feel like I have a responsibility as an HR practitioner, and a woman of color, to say those things and to call them out. And so from that, I feel like I leaned into myself. And so it was like trusting myself, trusting the process that like, hey, we've built this relationship. If we handle it right, and even if it goes sideways, I'll know that I did the right thing at the end of the day. And I did it with grace and handled it with grace, but I also advocated for myself. So I learned to just like trust others too, because I trusted in the relationship that we had built already. And so that was, I would say, never to feel like you have to be like bound by certain things in your business. Leading with your values should come first, because you'll always know when there's a mismatch there. When you get that pit in your stomach, like something's not right. That was the biggest learning lesson for me. And I'll make sure that I continue to do that.
Thank you. And I both of what you shared totally resonated with me. Being in handling tough conversations, or making how you feel or you're being made to feel, how to express that and how to navigate that. Yeah. For me, I think it was not one particular thing. It's a pattern that I'm seeing. Well, there was one particular thing, was there was a very solid lead coming out of a referral from work that I had done last year. And that hasn't yet materialized. And so the pattern that I've seen is that there were, a few people, I want to say at least 3 different opportunities that I thought would materialize, and it hasn't. And that, and for someone like me who's still starting out and working on building a book of business, it's very hard to take that and navigate and move on. So that's been very hard for me. And what I've learned from this is knowing, and this is something another solopreneur friend of mine, Catherine Spinney, talked about once in one of our conversations, is knowing when to persevere and when to pivot, like when to give up on grit, right? Like being gritty is good, but when to move on. And I've really learned that. It's very hard for me to accept it, but I think I'm learning that, I'll say, to know and not to take anything personally, to say, okay, this is not working out, they're not ready for it yet, and they'll come back when they're ready. And maybe I'm not the right person to do this work for them, and that's totally fine. Yes, I would love it if they would tell me, right? Who likes being ghosted?
Right.
So, but that's something that I've faced a lot, and it makes me also. So there's another thing, kind of tied to that, and tied to some of your experience, Tiffany, as you said. I don't see a lot of people, especially women, who look like me doing the work that I do with a specific niche that I'm in. And I also wonder if that has to do with anything in terms of how I am received and how well I'm listened to. and that affects my self-confidence. And so, especially, we're living in the US and trying to work here. So I forget to think about how far I've come. And it was just yesterday I was thinking about it. I'm like, ooh, I need to take the time to think about how far I've come. Because when I first moved to the States, because of the visa type, I was on a spouse visa. I could not work, and I had to start my career from scratch. And my first job here in the US was working in a coffee shop as a barista. And I enjoyed that because of the anonymity that it provided me to people watch and learn about business culture here, because of so much of business meetings happen in coffee shops here. So I was like, wow, this is a great opportunity. Yeah. But and that was 2009 to today. So I have forged my path, and I need to remind myself that if I've done this in the past, I can do it again.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think opportunities not working out, being ghosted, that's been my challenge for this year. And then I'm trying to figure out how to save my self-confidence from all of that, from the impact of that.
Mm-hmm. I feel like you just teed up a third meeting of this.
Yes, when you get ghosted. I have 3 ghosting me right now. So how much do you follow?
What to do when you get ghosted? That's the good thing.
Yeah, let's do that. Because I talk to other entrepreneurs, women specifically, and it does mess with our self-confidence.
Yes,
we should definitely talk about this.
Yes, absolutely. And this is the other thing. Like, do not compare your journey with others. I've fallen to that so many times, and then I think, and I look back, because I walked into this with absolutely no industry contacts, like no decision makers who are industry contacts, right? So I'm doing this literally from scratch. And then to look at someone else's journey who's had this straight path career, and then, their last role was, I don't know, EVP or VP of HR, and then now they're the successful coach. I'm stupid if I'm going to compare myself with that. And I do that. And I look at that, I'm going, oh, how long do I have to wait for my turn? So it frustrates me. But then I also have to remind myself that their journey is different from mine. And, my career is a jungle gym. So this is my journey. And so that has been a lot of work in and of itself.
Yeah. And we don't generally reveal all of the ugliness that happens behind the scenes. And so that person may not be as successful as you think they are, or as confident as you think they are. Right?
This is true. This is true.
And because we have been bootstrapped, if someone else has funding or they have taken out a loan, all of that, like, that's a whole different ball game. And I'm proud to be bootstrapped. Every dollar I earn is earned. And I'm not saying that as shade to people who may be VC backed or any of that, but that is a totally different journey. So for any of you out there, like, having those doubts or feeling like you're failing your business, hello, I've been there. I still am sometimes. But you're not. It's just different. It's a different experience.
Absolutely. And we're still getting a lot of great comments. I try to pull some of them in. Thank you. Oh, hello, Lalia. Big shout out to you. So Lalia joins us from Morocco. She's an agile coach, and she's a founder and principal, founder and CEO, I guess, of Upper Team. That's her consultancy. And she's doing amazing work in the agile transformation world. And she's multilingual and all of that. So fantastic. Thank you. Thank you for being here. I know we could go on and on, but we need to let everyone and ourselves go back to our weekend. So as we wrap up, I wanted to ask both of you, what are your parting words of encouragement for new and aspiring solopreneurs out there?
I think for me, a lot of what we've talked about today comes down to trusting ourselves. And I think about that when I think of confidence too. And I've been sharing this with a lot of the groups that I speak to, is we often think of confidence as thinking that I'm great, right? Like being confident means thinking that I'm wonderful. No, being confident just means trusting that you can handle whatever comes down the road. Mm-hmm. And I think the big part of solopreneurship is investing in ourselves, like betting on ourselves, right? And you used the word having faith, Tiffany, right? It's trusting that we either have the skills and the strengths already, and or that we can access the resources in each other that can help us to get to where we're going. And so it doesn't have to be a lonely journey. It doesn't have to be as scary as it might seem if we put stock in ourselves and in our relationships.
I love that. And it goes back to what I always say, and I have to remind myself, I used to have a note here, but I don't anymore because it's so ingrained, is trust yourself, trust the process, trust others. I always put a little grain of salt on the last one because we do have to be cautious because of like stories like we've all told just now. But what I would say too, I mean, actually you touched on this, is like the balance of like being okay, like lean in with intentionality and intensity when you need to, but don't be afraid to pull back either. Mm-hmm. And to feel like, oh, I started this. One of the biggest lessons I've learned is like, oh, I started this. Well, we didn't finish. One challenge I had even was like the summer intern I was hoping to have for this year did not accept her offer. And I was like, oh, this project, I put all this work into the onboarding plan. And I'm like, don't take it personal. You leaned in with intentionality and intensity, and we're going to rework the plan. It doesn't mean that it can't shift and adjust, but knowing when to pull back and not shaming yourself over it's just not the right time or wasn't meant to be, because that's such an important lesson in this seat.
Thank you both. So for me as well, it's a little bit similar to what you both shared. So for me, my two main operating principles when I started North Star and throughout my life is, one is give before you get. And you have to, before you build trust, you have to earn it. And when you form community, giving before you think of what am I getting out of this is, in my experience, the best way to create that trust. Mind your say do gap. If you say you're going to do something, first of all, mean it, and next do it. And if you can't, then tell them why not. So please do not ghost anyone. Yeah.
Please don't.
And the second thing, I think we are a living example of that, is collaboration over competition. From a strategic standpoint, identify who you can collaborate with that are adjacent to the work that you do. And sometimes even if it's similar work, like Kim and I, we are in a similar line of work. And in fact, I'm one of the coaches on Kim's team. And that was something that Kim started to do, is like, oh, there are times when I get work that I like to do, but I don't get the capacity. And that's why I could create a big and I'm part of that. So even if it's overlapping a similar kind of work, there's always opportunity. There is, the pie is always as large for as many people there are, right?
That's right.
The other aspect to think about is, where can you be adjacent? So for me, Kim and I are in a similar line of work, but with Tiffany, for me, I view it as adjacent, where when you talk about culture building, when you talk about change management, setting up HR processes, there's a lot of work that I or Kim as a leadership coach can come behind her to help the teams that Tiffany has set up, to help them sustain themselves, right? So from a strategy standpoint, thinking of these things and identifying people in your community, in your solopreneur community, that you can collaborate with, I think. So those are my two main things: give before you get, and collaboration over competition. And trusting yourself, absolutely. And I'm still on that journey. So I'm not here to say it's easy. It's been 40 some years and I'm still on
right there with you.
And I want to, in closing, I want to say, I just read this a couple of days ago on some post somewhere, that women, and I don't remember who said it, women are conditioned and socially programmed to ask for permission, whereas men can just take. Some respects, it may sound like a generalization, but to a large extent, I think it's true. And that kind of stayed with me, and I've been thinking about it. I'm like, okay, where am I asking? Where are places where I'm asking for permission, and where are places where I just walk in?
Mm.
And I found myself thinking that when it comes to my business, my work, I'm always asking for permission,
Mm.
right? So that's something I want to leave everyone with to think about, especially those of you that are happen to be women and who are aspiring to be solopreneurs or are solopreneurs. Think about how do you approach your business, because that's definitely something, because that unlocks something for me. Because if I am hesitating and I'm asking for permission, then I'm probably self-rejecting myself from a lot of spaces.
Yeah.
Right?
Mhm.
So get in there, and if you don't feel like it's not working, just walk out, right?
Permission to live out loud, right? I always say that, but I think permission to live and work out loud. I'm gonna start adding and work.
Yeah.
Yes, yes, absolutely, absolutely. I love the Lalia says, love your insights. Yes, yes, absolutely. Yeah, and that's the thing. So every single opportunity that did not work out for me, I that was an opportunity for me to iterate on my proposal document.
Mm.
Mm.
So I always got something from it. Like I have programs that I created for a client, a potential client, a prospective client. It did not work out, but I have a fantastic program now
That's right.
that
Yes.
it's all written out and all of that. So that's the other thing I learned, that no effort goes in vain, because you're always able to use it the next time.
Absolutely.
So
Great lesson.
yep, yep. All right, I'm going to zip it now. It's an hour and 15 minutes.
I can't wait to do this again.
I know.
Yes, absolutely. So thank you both so much for hanging out at the North Star Cafe, and for all of you who joined us from all over the world,
Yes,
and
thank you.
everyone that will watch the recording. This has been absolutely fantastic, and we will we'll hopefully do another one before the end of the year. That's our intention.
That's right. Yes. Thank you so much.
Yes, absolutely. All right, everyone. Take care and be well. And you know where to find us. If you have any questions, comments, we'd love to hear from you. Thank you all so much. Take care. Enjoy the rest of your weekend.